What's up, everyone, and
Welcome to my podcast, The Raw Lens, starring Vlad Luch and Leon. Oh, I'm sorry. Is this the wrong channel?
Cut. What's up, everyone, and welcome to The Raw Lens with your host, Lionheart. It's the show that reveals what goes on behind the scenes of entrepreneurs in their day-to-day life. Today, we have our guest, Mr. Vlad Luch. He has been known as a creative director as well as a marketing guru for over 25 years, working for several big companies, primarily for Nano Web Group. Vlad, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Leon.
What inspired you to be in the marketing business?
Starts with my background, really. My background in content creation. For the longest time, ever since I was a kid, my dad introduced me to graphic design. Always got all these programs for me to try out. Sony Vegas, Photoshop, Sony Acid to do like music editing and stuff like that, music producing. And one thing led to another. And before you know it, at an early age, I started learning how to like video edit. And then I got into visual effects. And then I kind of worked backwards. People usually move forwards. They start with Photoshop and then they move into Premiere and then they move into After Effects and everything else. I started with 3D and After Effects and had to learn backwards all the design principles. And so I did that for a long time. And I got to the point where I was producing really good, high quality stuff, but all the clients that I was producing it for, they didn't know how to market it. And I figured like if I learned how to market it for them, then they would come back for more work. And that's exactly what I did. And that was my intro to marketing and where I started probably when I was 16, 17, 18 years old.
What sets your business from other marketing firms?
That's an interesting question because marketing is a very broad term. It can mean anything from search engine optimization to the content creation to now social media, Google, PPC. Just too many variations, and most people focus on one or the other. They're either doing social media or they're doing Google, or they're just creating content and doing organic, or they're just focusing on websites or video editing or just creating nice pictures or photography. I think the thing that puts me aside and the company that I'm currently working for, our marketing department at Nano, is that we're very holistic. We're 360 marketing, where we like to say that we close the shopping journey, the user journey, the lead journey, that it's not enough to just bring people and introduce people to a brand or to a website. You have to be able to know how to get them to fulfill what you want them to do, right? And there's very much different ways to do it. And where some people just focus on one vertical, we focus across the board on everything. From email marketing to paid marketing, from TikTok to social media to Meta to Google Ads, email marketing.
So it's just basically, in one word to sum it up, it will just be branding, right?
I mean, branding is also its own term, right? You have to brand. And what I like to say is that when your branding is right, and branding is very important, a lot of people sleep on branding, but when your branding is right, it makes marketing easy. If you're having a hard time marketing, that means your offer, your branding, something is not right. And that's one of the things that we focus on. We try to fix that from the beginning and make you a market fit. It's very important to be a market fit.
What's a common misconception that people have about the marketing industry?
So I think the most important thing that I usually teach people about is that people think that just because you're marketing, you should be seeing results right off the bat. Oh, then my job would be super easy. I'll just run an ad and then your business would blow up and make billions of dollars. Great, amazing. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. The common misconception is that sometimes a product is not a good market fit. Therefore, it's more challenging to make that product or business a success. And if you are a good market fit, you have to understand that there's a term called the marketing funnel, right? The top of the funnel is introducing people to your brand. The middle funnel is holding their attention and increasing what we'd like to call touch points. With every touch point, whether it's an email, a social media post, an ad that follows you, an SMS message, a video that's delivered to you, a testimonial that you see, all of these is touch points. And there's a mathematical formula to a certain amount of touch points that a person needs to see. A, trust the brand. B, understand that this brand is what they need, right? And C is actually purchase or engage with the brand, depending on what it is. And what I say is it's different because if you're in e-commerce, you're obviously selling products, right? But what does that mean? When you're selling products, you're selling a lifestyle, especially on the luxury side, right? Or you sell everyday needs, toothpaste, socks, underwear, which is a different strategy. On the other side, for services, is like, how do you get clients? You know, your videography, you need lead gen, and that's different than e-commerce because you need to be able to get your own clients.
Yeah.
And how do you attract them? By you focus on podcasts, you focus on producing content behind the scenes, right? You exposure. You also showcase the work that you've been involved in, whether you're shooting it, editing it, flying a drone, whatever it is that it is, you're getting attention, right? And then you create lead gen for yourself, and then you're able to close that business and create work for yourself. A common misconception in marketing is also that people think just because you drive traffic to a website, the traffic is going to work and that you're going to get sales right away. You have to increase touch points, to just sum it up, and you have to follow up. No matter if you're a service or e-commerce, you have to have a strategy that closes the shopping loop, that closes the lead gen loop, and that brings that person back to your website. And you know what? If they're constantly coming back to your website, whether it's a 1-day window, a 7-day window, or even let's say a 48-day window for them to become your client, and that's usually equal to the price of your product. If your product is around $200, you're probably going to be able to close them in 1 day, 4-day window. If your product is, let's say, dental work and it's $50,000, it's going to be a longer run, and you have to keep their attention during the whole run, which means you have to spend more on marketing, content creation, etc.
Can you share a behind-the-scenes story of a particular challenging or rewarding marketing campaign?
I have a perfect one, and this had to be with content creation. So we're shooting a podcast, right? And we shoot a podcast and we get phenomenal information. And then at the end, when we come into the office, we find out the mic mishap and there's no audio. There's only the audio that the actual cameras were able to pick up, which made it sound like a robot.
That must have been a horrible feeling.
Unfortunately, we both share in that feeling because we're both on that shoot. We had to redo the shoot completely with a new mic and
that I purchased.
We had to eat the time. We had to eat the efforts. We had to do everything twice. So unfortunately, that happens.
I guess that was like that could refer to like an embarrassing question. Like, yeah, that was an embarrassing moment. How do you handle clients that have unrealistic expectations?
Honestly, that's exactly the answer. To be as honest as possible and upfront. I mentioned that you have to be a market fit. No matter if you're a service and e-commerce, people want to get involved with you. People need you, right? So that's the easiest sell. If marketing does it, then it just brings customers to your door and you don't have to sell, you just fulfill. But on the other side of that, a lot of people have dreams, and those dreams don't really line up with the market. And the market is very broad and big and very ugly. I tell people right off the bat, the first thing that I do when I get involved with any single brand, I look through all of their information, I do my analytics, I do my research, and I figure out if they're a good market fit. And if they're not, I'm gonna tell them straight up that it's not gonna work the way you want it, or it's gonna take more budget than you think that you wanna spend. Because if you wanna come in and you wanna spend $5,000 a month and you're not a good market fit, you're in the wrong game. It's just not gonna work for you. It's simple as that. Honesty is the best way. And what we do at Nano and what my team does really well is that we keep clients' expectations in check from A to Z. And we make sure they understand what they're getting themselves into, because once you start, there's no stop.
So how do you approach a creative strategy for a new client? What's the process like?
A creative strategy has to have an offer on the bottom end. You need to have a product that people want. If nobody wants you, then it's useless to have you as a brand. And sometimes things get outdated. There's a good example of this in the early 1900s, before the automobile was invented. There was a job, right, and a service to get shit off the street. And the reason they needed the service is because there was no automobile, everything was horse driven, right? And there was carriages all through Manhattan and everything and all around the world. And there was a job and a need for somebody to walk around and get rid of all the shit that falls on the floor. Overnight, as the automobile, and overnight I mean a couple of years, as the automobile companies started coming in and it became more affordable and everybody started having automobiles, that service went out the window. So it literally disappeared, and there was no need for that anymore. You need to know first of all, you're a market fit. If you know you're a market fit, then that's amazing. That means we can help you, right? That means we can strategize. There's no cookie cutter in marketing, right? Just because it worked for one dentist or one service doesn't mean it's going to work for another service or dentist, specifically in that vertical. The strategy goes as simple as putting your offer out there, having an offer to begin with, putting it out there, getting people to engage with it, getting traffic, I don't like mindless traffic and window shoppers. If I'm going to bring somebody to your website, I want to capture as much information in them as possible. So that means an email pop-up, getting their email so I can remarket them as much as possible, retarget them using pixels and tags from Google, and get them to get back to your website. Because life is busy, and especially today in 2025, everybody is busier than ever. So just because you saw them with an ad and they clicked to your website doesn't mean that kids didn't get in the way, life didn't get in the way, you had to get off the train, you had to go into work. Wherever and whenever you are looking at an ad, you have to stay top of mind. And if your click-through rate is high and your retargeting click-through rate is high and you're bringing them back, that's the number one strategy, is to keep bringing them back until they're ready to close. On the other side of that strategy is getting the companies and the brands credibility up, or getting users and buyers to trust your product. Trust is a very, very, very important. How do we do that? Through reviews. How do we do that? Through testimonials,
yes,
right?
Reviews, testimonials.
Referrals. Yeah. Those are very, very, very important. So the strategies are broad. They're different. Sometimes shorter strategies work. Sometimes bigger strategy work. It's very different for everybody. Just take two dentist office and one is run by a man, one is run by a female. The strategies need to be completely different.
Can you share behind the scenes story of a particularly challenging or rewarding marketing campaign?
A rewarding marketing campaign was when we took a brand from making $5,000 a month to making $500,000 a month.
Wow.
That was really rewarding. Once we got all the bells and whistles in place and we got the right problems out of the way and roadblocks, we were able to grow really, really, really fast. We were also lucky that the owner of the company had a fire underneath her, that she was ready to go and do whatever it takes to grow. And once she started 100% taking all of our advice, she grew through the roof. And she's still growing right now.
She made the necessary investments?
Year over year, she's showing 200 to 500% growth across the board, and she's not slowing down. Even now, she wants to beat last year. Last year records, we beat it unbelievably, and we're gonna grow even more. And I think the most rewarding thing about my job is that when everything that we plan and strategize works out, and we get rid of the roadblocks, and we get the full trust of the client and the brand, we're able to do what we need to do. The success part of it makes you feel so achieved in life that nothing really beats it. So I think that's the most important thing in anything that I do, is I do not want to get involved in anybody that I really cannot help and achieve to grow.
So how do you handle roadblocks, if you have any, like through a client? Did you ever have any roadblocks?
Yeah, sometimes people are roadblocks. Sometimes the client themselves is a roadblock. They just don't understand, and you have to teach them, and you have to spend a lot of your time. It's not enough that all the work that you have to do to build a brand, to grow marketing for a specific vertical, but you also sometimes need to get the client out of the way. Most clients, and I run into this more than I don't, is that they like to think that their clientele is themselves. They don't create products for a specific audience. They create products for themselves. And they think just because they like it, right? They have an unified view on things, that they think just because they like it, everybody likes it. Yeah. But it doesn't work like that, right? So you have to get yourself out of the equation first. And you have to actually listen to the analytics. And it's always good to have a gut feeling and go with your gut, but that doesn't always work in life. You have to be able to read the data, make sense of the data, use the data to fix whatever's going wrong, and then you can actually see success.
Which marketing field, social media, branding, SEO, email campaigns, etc., is your favorite to work on, and why?
My favorite to work on, I would have to say, if you asked me a year ago, social media marketing and content creation. The things you could achieve with just that alone has been remarkable. And I'm not even talking about the golden age of 2017, before the iOS update of 14, where all the privacy policies went into place and everything went out the window. That was the golden age. I love that. It was so easy to run marketing, and I was so happy to be part of it, right? And then everything went back to the 1960s, where you had to go to old school marketing, focus on advertising, having your message, having your offers correct, and being able to appeal, because you weren't able to use data at the same level as before. But if you ask me that today, I would say one of the things that most people sleep on, and I've grown to love, email marketing. Email marketing is a sexy tool that I haven't met a vertical yet that people cannot relate. And yes, I know what people will say. I don't check my emails. I would unsubscribe. There's all these analytics. There's all these data. People don't read anymore. Bullshit. Because email is paired up with SMS. And in the last year and a half to 2 years, it's been having such a phenomenal comeback that if you're sleeping on this, you're losing at least 20 to 30% of your revenue that you're literally leaving on the table doing marketing. It's such a pivotal point that it could mean the difference of your business being success year over year or not.
So now that we're in the era of AI, how does AI help with your marketing strategy and your branding strategy? Like, what tools in AI help to make the process better?
Well, Leon, if we're going to be talking about AI, I think we need to pour each other another drink, okay? Because this topic is going to get very feisty, and there's a lot of controversy on this shit, on this topic that people do not like. It's going to take my job. It's going to make me homeless. What am I going to do with my career? But I'll give you a good example of how we've seen these shifts happen in the past. In the past, there used to be an actual job to be a mathematician, to do all the big equations, right? That was your full-time job.
Yeah.
You had problems, you were able to solve it. And then you know what happened? The calculator came out.
TI-83 or something?
Exactly. All those people lost their jobs because what they were paid to do was able to be done
A piece of paper, and now it's on a
digital
calculator.
device, on an analog device, on a digital device, and crazy. And now ChatGPT is no different. You can go into ChatGPT and you can put crazy formulas into, and it will find.
You could literally use your smartwatch on a test and ask ChatGPT anything and cheat on a test.
It's beyond that. You can use ChatGPT to write code now. You can use ChatGPT to translate code from one code language to another code language, to build websites, to ask it for help. There's even chatbots. And there's a lot of companies that's been using a lot of this big data products for a while. But let me tell you something. Just like, yes, people lost their jobs when the calculator came out, but those people started to use a calculator and was able to do that work much faster and be able to grow into other positions. And the same thing people need to realize today, AI is not something to take over your life or take your position or take your job. It's a tool. So if you learn how to use AI sooner than later, you're going to be able to service more people. You'll actually be able to make more money. And I'll give you a great example of this. Content creators were a big roadblocks in a lot of marketing stuff, because you had to find the right content creator. You had to find somebody that knew how to write for different verticals, for different businesses, had a creative way that doesn't sound like anybody else. And yes, that's one of the first things that AI took over, is being able to write basic content. And even SEO had to change their strategy of how Google reads SEO to make it sound legible, grammar correctly, to appeal to different kids, to appeal to different ages, to appeal to different people, different generation, different languages. AI can do this for you now. Right? What do content creators do now? They use AI so in case of just getting paid with one client to make money, they're able to
multiple
20, 30, 40 clients in a month. And yes, they charge them less, but they make more.
They came out with these things called AI employees, so now you can hire your own employee to do all your work for you.
Right, there are agents that can do different things, that are specifically trained and modeled to do certain, objectives and projects and tasks that you don't want to do anymore. There are a lot of things that are very tedious to do that waste a lot of time, and before you had to pay for that. Well, guess what? As a business owner, when you don't have to pay for those tedious things to be done anymore and they could be done more efficiently, you start to make more money. So your margin for error decreased and your margin for profit increased.
Do you believe that AI will develop a conscience?
Yes, it's called general AI, and everybody's saying that it's going to happen this year. But what does it mean to have a conscious? People think like right now AI has a conscious just because of the things it can do, but really it's just conditioned responses, big data, being able to process it fast off of supercomputers and a lot of stuff. For a conscious to grow, how would that look like, right? It would be able to make ideas by itself. Basically, what does a conscious means? That means you would
think for yourself, yeah.
You would think for yourself. You're able to figure this out. And the best example of this, let's say you put 7 colors in front of something that never seen colors before, and it starts naming these colors. Not naming them correctly because it doesn't have a reference of what we as kids are learned. This is red, this is blue, this is green. But a general AI would give them names, so then for whenever it sees it outside of this picture, it could always call it a certain name because it has differences. That's really general AI, that it can figure things out. Now, when general AI comes into fruition, is it going to be a baby stage? Is it going to be a teenager stage? How fast will it be able to learn, right? Well, that depends on computing power.
Yeah, the more powerful the computer.
Exactly, so it takes time. General AI is not something that's just going to come there and able to figure out the secrets of the universe in a second. It doesn't work like that.
What's a trend in marketing that you think is overhyped and underrated?
A trend in marketing, and again, marketing is a very broad term. But something that's overhyped is being what they say viral, and specifically is using viral trends to become viral. It doesn't matter the song that you use in your reels. It doesn't matter the editing.
It's about the algorithm.
The algorithm will pick and choose based on quality, based off information, based off how original the content is, right? Quality is a big thing that people sleep on. They think just because they're going to do a TikTok dance, they're going to get a lot of attention, but you're going to get a lot of attention of people that are interested in TikTok dance. And unless you're a dancing teacher, it means nothing to you. It's a fake audience that will not achieve anything for you. Unless you're selling products that applies to everybody, like sunscreen or toothpaste. If you focus on the quality and you focus on being original, right? And you make your own wave, there's a lot of very good accounts out there that are going viral that do not need to be trendy. They set the trend and they do very, very, very well every single time out the gate. There's people that already understand this. They sell courses on this. It's a very powerful tool. You got to stop following the masses. You got to experiment. And the number one thing that all these platforms wants, yes, I understand. They want users to stay on their platform longer, and they want your content to keep them there. If you want a true audience that's going to grow with you, then you have to give them substance.
Speaking of that, like with applications and social media, like what do you think of the TikTok ban?
I personally don't think it's going to happen. My money is that someone's either going to buy it out, there's going to be a lobby effect, there's going to be something that happens that's not going to happen. And if it does happen, there's always ways around it. You know, there's so many different angles that it can take. I really think they're going to have a hard time banning it.
I heard that Mr. Beast wants to buy out TikTok. Is that true?
Beast, Trump, you name it, somebody's talking about it. It's a big topic. I personally don't think that it's going anywhere. I personally think it's, in a sense, too big to fail. And we will definitely edit this video based on what happens in the next couple of days.
How do you stay ahead of a constant changes in marketing trends and technology?
The best way to stay ahead is to always be learning. There's no other way. You have to always be researching. You have to follow your heroes, follow your mentors. There's a lot of people in the game that are further ahead than you are, and you just can't stop. Just because you learn how to do one thing, that doesn't mean there's not 100 other things. The more I learn in marketing, the better my marketing becomes, the more unstoppable I become. And don't be afraid on the other side to teach people, because by the time they learn what you know, you're going to be miles ahead of them. Growth is the only way to success. Failure is the best medicine for growth. It fuels growth because you have to fail to know when you're growing.
What's the biggest challenge small businesses face when it comes to marketing?
The biggest challenge small businesses face is being a market fit. And if they are a good market fit, then the next big challenge that they face is probably going to be budgeting. Being able to have enough capital to get to where you want to be as fast. Now, you can take the slow road, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can learn how to do everything yourself.
This is just going to take a long time.
Yeah, you're spending time. You only have finite amount of time on this planet, and you don't want to spend your whole life working, and you got to speed things up. So getting the right people involved, getting the right teams, partners,
the right tools, yes.
The right tools, it's very important, and upfront it takes a lot of work. Overnight success is literally 10 years. That's what overnight success means. So just because you tried for a couple of months doesn't mean that you're a failure. It's stepping stones. And you know what it looks like? I grew a little bit. I took a step forward. I took another step forward. I took 3 steps forward. I took 5 steps back. I took 2 steps forward. I took 10 steps forward. It's very compound when it comes to it. The results are compound. They come in waves. They come in bursts. And even with my learning in software, I've dabbled in 3D. I've done 3D videos. I've done visual effects. I've done animation. I've done marketing. I've done everything. Every single time I learn a new tool, I will dabble in it a little bit as a hobby. It would kick my ass. I would leave it alone for a couple of months, find some time. I'd come back to it. I already have my baseline. I'll learn more on top of it. Before you know it, it becomes a true hobby. And before you know it, it becomes a job. Before you know it, it becomes a career.
Yeah, like the famous Arnold Schwarzenegger says, you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in the pocket.
Exactly. And what I like to always say, I have a very bad habit of hobbies becoming career. I just can't stop. Every single time I get a new career and I get a new job or something that makes me a lot of money.
I mean, I wouldn't call it a bad habit. It's actually a very good habit to have. Can you give an example of a campaign that had bad results?
And it's a very interesting question. Most people will say I don't make mistakes, and most people will say there is no bad campaigns that I ever, because the truth of the matter is, whether it's a campaign or a strategy, the worst campaigns that I ever ran had to do a lot with the brand and the product just being a terrible market fit. And at the time when I was younger, I would take clients and I knew what I was doing, but I didn't understand the idea of what a market fit means. Right? Market fit means that there's an audience. Sometimes you're early to the game and the audience hasn't arrived yet. Sometimes you're late. Sometimes the wave is already over and you just got into the game. So understanding the market fit, understanding the growth of the product and what you're trying to do with it is very, very, very important. And I think that's one of the most important things that I changed in my business that allow me to grow to where I am today. I had to have losing campaigns. I had to experience them and analyze them to figure out, to learn, so I don't make those mistakes again. And unfortunately, there's no way around it. Everybody in the industry has to do it. Everybody has to go through it, which is why it's very important for people to choose who they work with, how long they've been in the industry, what do they know, what do they don't know, how they approach problems, how many strategies they understand. And some clients are very knowledgeable in marketing strategies and how they run, how to control them, how to utilize them, and some are not. And the ones that are not, I take it upon myself to teach them, to train them. Because if they understand, I'm not afraid to lose the business. But if they understand, then they get out of the way for letting me and my team do what we need to do to make them a success.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vlad has also been one of my mentors in the marketing and content creation business. Very good at teaching and also a pain in the ass, but it pays off.
You're welcome, Leon.
What's the most rewarding part about working in marketing?
Money. Money. And it's not my money. My clients making a lot of money. When things work out, and I don't say if things work out, when things work out, because I don't give up. I never give up. I'll go above and beyond 200% in. When things work out, the money that the clients make, the problems that we solve on the other end, the products that we provide makes a difference in people's lives, makes a difference in my client, makes a difference in growth. And the other side of it is really learning. Every business that I get involved with, I have to backwards engineer their business. I have to learn. I have to almost be an owner in the business to understand from A to Z how it works. So I can produce the best service possible.
So you're basically pretending that it's your own business and you want to just make it stand out as much as possible.
Yes, and I love learning. This is one of the most rewarding things to do.
So we have somebody ask, what advice would you give to someone starting their own marketing business or pursuing a career in this field?
Anyone starting in the marketing field, the best advice I can give you is don't let one rainy day ruin you. Keep rocking, keep rolling, don't stop learning. Just because you think you're on top of the mountain and you think you know everything, you think you figured it out, there's another client, there's another brand, there's another project that's gonna knock you on your ass.
You got knocked the fuck out!
So you need to keep on learning, you need to not give up, and you need to be able to take criticism and advice, because there are people that know different strategies that you never came across, that know better than you. You need to be able to learn from them. You need to take from every experience, you need to be able to take something away. That's the best advice that I can give to anybody starting in this industry.
If you could run a dream campaign for any company, what would that be? Which company would that be? Which brand?
When I was younger and I was just getting started, I had a dream of working for the big boys, working for Fortune 500 companies. When you get into this field, you realize that you don't need to work for the big boys to be able to achieve your goals, right? To run your dream campaign. In fact, it's more rewarding to take somebody from a startup to a Fortune 500. Making something from the ground up, making something from scratch grows. As a dream company to work for, I had wishful thinking when I was younger. Now, all my clients, all my potential clients, all my prospects, they become my dream. I become obsessed about them. So I've learned to fall in love with the process and not the brand.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the truth or shot round, where the guest, if they refuse to answer the truth about a question that's very personal, they take a shot. Are you ready?
I am ready.
If you had any, which I'm sure every company does, what was one of your bad reviews and why?
I mean, are you asking for the company side or are you asking for me personally?
Both sides.
So I'll tell you the truth. The worst review, and it wasn't even out there review, it was just a referral review within the community that I was working at the time, was unfortunately, with that individual, I've lost contact for a while until recently, and we just didn't see eye to eye, is when I bit more than I can chew. I got a project where I had to do cleanup on jewelry photography, and I was given a demo product. that wasn't that bad, right? And I was able to fly through it. I made it beautiful. It was something, in fact, I didn't know how to do it before this project. I learned on this project how to do it, and I did a couple of pieces and it worked out really well. The client comes back and tells me, listen, I got a job. I got 2,000 of these. Can you work through it? Thinking that, and I was young and didn't really have experience of what to expect on that side because I haven't done it enough. I haven't learned the ins and outs. So I was thinking, okay, I did it once, it's just going to be time consuming, it's an opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. And then when the products were served up to me, they did not resemble anything that the first demo products did. They had chips in them. I had to literally not only stitch together jewelry, but I had to redraw pieces of the jewelry. I might as well have 3D model them and render them to make them better. They were in such terrible shape that I just couldn't fulfill the project. And I tried to source out some of it to help me out. And I was able to make round to it. I probably got through 20% of it. I had to make a decision if I kept going, the value that I was bringing, the value that I was getting paid. And I did come back and try to renegotiate and try to make more money off the deal. There was just no more money on the table. If I kept on going, I would have lost months of my time. I would have driven myself crazy and I would have lost a lot of money. I was living by myself, beginning ages, around the year of 25, 26, just moved out. I needed money to survive, and this project was taking over my life. And it got to the point where I had to break all my rules and deny the project and push it back. And even the subcontractors that I got involved, they couldn't even handle it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to fulfill the contract and I had to give the pieces back. The vendor had to go to somebody else and take care of it. And it lost me in a relationship with a client. It lost me a lot. It took me some time to get over it, and I take these things to heart. I don't like to lose. I don't like to give up. I would have put myself in a very, very bad place to move forward. And as far as I understand it, I don't think that vendor was successful in that project. He had to take a loss as well because the way that project was handled on the other side, because I wasn't involved in the photography, I was just doing the cleanup. Was terrible. And he made a promise that was very, very hard to keep. And I wouldn't have been able to buy myself a cup of coffee at the end of it. There was no profits in it at all. So unfortunately, I had to make a decision. Fortunately enough, I had a lot of projects to bounce back from. Most people knew what kind of character I was, and they knew that if I had to turn down a job, that means it wasn't something that could be achieved. Giving now and everything that I know now, if that job it would have been presented to me now, I would know what factors to look at. I would know how to evaluate properly. I would know how to budget it properly and what it would cost based on what the job needed to be. And how it was served to me, and at the end what it turned out to be was not the same thing, and it would have put me in a bad place if I continued, so I had to opt out.
Was there ever a time that you felt embarrassed in front of a client? If so, what was that story like?
So the situation that I found myself in is that this was in around the year 2000, 2019. There was a lot of heat in the air with politics, with Trump and Biden and everything else going on, and there was a lot of controversy, and me and a friend of mine did not see eye to eye. I was being picked on. We were going back and forth. We just didn't see eye to eye. And I'm fine with that. Listen, everybody's up to their opinions. Everybody can have, their cake and eat it too. I'm okay. And it doesn't really affect me personally. Sometimes during the workday, you have a lot of messengers open, and I do a lot of client communication. And my friend said something that was not so nice, and I'm not going to repeat it. And I told him back that he is, if I remember this correctly, I wrote, "Are you kidding me? I think you're the most idiotic person and the dumbest guy that I've ever met." And I wrote it in the wrong channel.
Oh my God.
Because I had the wrong channel selected, and unfortunately it wasn't a channel that I can delete.
Oh no.
This was Google Chat, and there was no delete feature. Once it's out there, it's out there.
Oh man, that must
And then I was sweating immediately. I thought I would lose the client. Right? All the client said, she said that, "Wow, that was serious." And I had to jump in and explain the story. No, it's one of my friends who has these political beliefs, and he's like ruining friendships over it, and he's trying to make a point. And I was basically telling him that you're a dumbass and you shouldn't be a person to make a point to begin with, period. And I said it in the wrong channel, and I had to explain it and apologize it. And yeah, the client understood, and I didn't lose the client, luckily. But that was a mistake that for a long time, I never shared with anybody.
What was the most difficult client you had to work with, and how did you handle that situation?
give me a shot. I'm not answering that one.
There you go. Everybody always has at least one shot on the show.
It's okay. Maybe on the next one I'll make it all the way through. Go ahead.
See, I know I always have a question that will get them.
That's a feisty one. You know, that one is hard. That one is hard to get away with. I'm a ballsy guy. I usually would go in and I'll tell you exactly how it is. I don't really care what people think, but that's opening up a can of worms. Cheers.
Well, that wraps up this week's episode of The Raw Lens. Vlad, thank you so much for a very, very well-informed podcast interview. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Also follow the Paid Marketing Guru on Instagram, and we'll see you next time.